Flexer. The underlying JFS language deletes the end date so that the remote meeting, public meeting will continue to be permitted. Previously, the bill had the end date December 31st, 2022. JFS language removes that date. Any questions, comments? Senator Sampson, your hand raised. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is it correct that this bill would allow a public agency, and I believe public agency would include a local town council or board of education, to begin holding their regular meetings solely through electronic means with no requirement for in-person meeting? Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
Going to defer to the chair of the P&D committee, Representative McCarthy-Vahey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to answer the questions. This bill is permissive in nature and continues the practice that we passed last year. It is a municipal option, so permissive, not mandatory, and would, to the good senator's question, allow a community to make the choice to have either hybrid or fully remote meetings if that was the choice of the local community or the body.
Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the gentle lady's answer. Can I just ask a follow-up and ask, when you say community's decision, who in the community is making that decision through you, Mr. Chairman?
Representative McCarthy-Vahey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And the body, at this point, the practice has been for the past year since we passed the bill last year, that the body itself. So for example, here in my community, different bodies have made different decisions. Our Board of Education, for example, has been meeting in person with a remote hybrid option, whereas our Board of Finance has been meeting fully remote.
Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate that answer also. Yeah, so effectively a community is not making a decision. It is the current elected officials on the Board of Ed or the town council that are making a determination for that body, whether or not they're going to meet in person or not, or only electronically. This is easily the worst bill on this agenda. It may in fact be one of the worst bills on this entire legislative agenda for the entire session. I cannot express just how dangerous this type of policy is. Mr. Chairman, I am shocked that this is before us. I understand that, you know, we suffered through the COVID-19 pandemic and there was a need to adapt to that. And I think we adapted far longer than we needed to, as a matter of fact. In fact, we're still adapting on the third floor of the Capitol, where the Senate president has continued to require masks and kept the public off that floor. I don't think any of those things were necessary, but directly referring to this bill, one of the key ingredients in a representative form of government that recognizes free citizens control the government is that people have the right to directly approach and talk to their elected officials. You know, people, I think, have a misunderstanding of what the real political forces in the world are, whether it's Republican or Democrat, conservative or progressive. The real issue is whether or not we retain our system of representative government. That's the issue. There are those people like me who want to maintain an absolute adherence to the notion that this is a country of free people and that the government is made up of people elected by those free citizens and is responsive to them and responsible to them. And when we write policies like this, what we are doing is we are slowly but surely separating our elected officials from the people themselves. And the dream of people that are have a contrary opinion to the founding of this nation and a representative form of government is to have a government run by bureaucrats, experts potentially in their mind, behind closed doors, making decisions for all of us and determining how we're going to live our lives that are very difficult to reach and approach. And I know that sounds like maybe a reach from having a in-person meeting to a digital meeting, but it is a major step in that direction. We have countless issues with this practice currently. There are people who have technological problems. If you have a power issue, you have an internet issue, you have an internet service issue, you have an electricity service issue, you have a computer issue, all of those things could prevent access to being able to participate in a meeting. And the fact is that in this state, not everyone has internet access. Not everyone knows how to operate a computer. And to modify our system so that people no longer have access, in some cases, to their public officials in person, I think is dangerous. And over the last year, when we've seen a significant rise in public attendance at town meetings, it's partly a result of that. It's partly a result of bureaucratic decision making that is causing these folks to show up and complain at their local town meetings. And if they are to be shut out with less ability to approach their elected officials and challenge them, I think that's a dangerous trend. Anyone who's ever witnessed an angry mom at her local board of education talking about masks or critical race theory or God knows what, knows just how powerful and important it is to have the ability as a citizen in a community to be able to communicate with your elected officials directly. I think this is a bad bill. I understood it when it was a temporary situation because we were dealing with a pandemic. I will make one clarification, which is that I'm absolutely not against remote meetings. I like remote meetings. In fact, it's rather convenient for me today to be on this remote meeting. But that should be an option. That should be a way for people to be able to approach their elected officials, in addition to being able to show up and petition them in person. And make no mistake, a shift away from in-person meetings is a shift away from the representative form of government that made this country so great. And I'm absolutely opposed to it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.